wasn't going to make this video. I really wasn't. But I had to share this because this is not how we package something for international travel. Like, this is what happens when we have no money and we need to ship something. I mean, look at this. No bubble wrap whatsoever. Absolutely none. I'm amazed that this showed up in one piece. Well, it is metal. I thought it was plastic. Like, wow. Free power cord. Well, I guess it wasn't free. I paid for the item, but let me get all this crap out of the way and we'll take a look at this thing. Because it's pretty interesting, to say the least. I'm not going to dwell too long on the packaging, but just suffice it to say that I really just don't understand why things are shipped the way that they're shipped. I mean, yes, costs for everything are rising. I mean, just look around you. And it's starting to become kind of ridiculous how much things cost to do. Like, for instance, a computer like this that I would have got, 5 years ago, it probably would have been around the neighborhood of maybe $30 to $40 to ship. It's now well over $200 to ship, which is just absurd to think about. But why would you skimp on the packaging materials in order to get that done? Because, an item, like I said before in one of the other videos, an item that is in subpar packaging is an item that is more likely than not to arrive damaged in some way. Like, it's pure luck that none of this stuff was broken in some fashion. But it's likely to arrive damaged, and what that means is that someone's going to open up an eBay case or give you negative feedback if they're a real jerk, but more likely than not, they'll open up an eBay case and they'll get their money back. So you're out the item as a seller and you're out your money. Why is that worth the risk? I just don't understand. If there had been any amounts of bubble wrap in here, I could excuse that packaging job, but there weren't. You saw, that was the packaging material. Anyway, enough yanking about that. This really was the real reason why I allowed myself to buy this. Like, the computer itself is interesting. It's actually very interesting, but this is, in fact, a genuine IBM Model M. Well, Dell Model M, and it's not even an IBM anyway. It's actually a Lexmark. You can see there. It looks like the sticker was not like that in the listing photos, so that's wonderful. But June of 1994, Model M. The wonderful buckling spring keyboards. It's going to need a cleaning. It's pretty dirty, but it's not like that's not doable. Now the computer. Because someone is probably looking at the title of this video and thinking, oh, that must be a typo. Surely he means OmniPlex. No. This is a Dell OmniPlex 590. Supposedly, this was the brand name that preceded OmniPlex as a brand name. And that's been around for a long time. So this would have been your high-end, business-oriented machine at the time, which, given the date on the keyboard, sometime around 94, 95. And wouldn't otherwise be terrifically interesting, if not for the name, and the fact that you really just don't see Dells this old all that often anymore. It is new enough to have the new logo. Let's see, single floppy drive. Could be original, but maybe not. I don't know. This might have come with a 5 1/4 inch, and looks like that's kind of a little loose, but that's okay. There's tape all over it. It's in pretty bad condition physically, but again, You're not going to find too many of these, so he who complains does not get anything. So the phrase is beggars can't be choosers. I don't want to scratch it up too much. Not that I think it matters. It does have VGA, and a printer, and 2 serial ports, and PS2 ports for keyboard and mouse. There's a lock. Kind of an interesting lock. Don't have the keys for the machine. There's the power supply, probably almost certainly proprietary. And the service tag. 5-digit service tag. It has 5 slots. It looks like there are 2 Ethernet cards installed in here. That's kind of weird. And a SCSI card, in all likelihood. Alright, let's go ahead and pop the cover on this thing. I will point out that this base is plastic. So again, probably a small wonder that this actually survived. The faceplate is also plastic. But it seems like the rest of this is metal. At least some of it. No, that's definitely plastic as well. So it looks like the base system unit is plastic, but the cover is metal. Honestly, I was expecting the whole thing to be plastic. And here it is, with the cover taken off. Giant dust wads are free of charge. This is a very dirty machine. But the one interesting thing about this is that the listing said there is no hard drive, but very clearly, there's a hard drive right there. Now, it's a Quantum ProDrive LPS, so it probably doesn't work. And before people get on my case about that, a lot of these Quantum drives of the time period have got a little rubber stopper on them that is supposed to prevent the heads from slamming up against the end of their travel. And what happens is that rubber turns to goo. It's a big problem with these drives, and also on the Quantum Peripherals drives. They have the same issue. So, taking a look otherwise, there's like the world's longest floppy cable. I don't know why it needed to be so big, but it's there. Like I said, very dirty. It's an extremely dirty system. The one of the tabs actually fell off, the faceplate tab, so I'll have to fix that. This power supply, there you can see the outputs. Looks almost standard. It is a Baby AT compatible power supply, or at least it's modeled after Baby AT because it's got the hard power switch at the front there. Taking another look. There's your battery, fortunately situated away from the motherboard. Although I've still had these things leak. They leach through the cable and end up causing problems that way, so you do want to get them out of there whenever you can. Okay, so we've had a look at this thing. We've had a look at the fact that it's got a 3.5-inch floppy. We've had a look, kind of, at the power supply. And the fact that it is roughly Baby AT. Although I just about guarantee you that it has proprietary wiring. In fact, I don't even know where the wiring goes. Oh, there it is. It goes underneath the hard drive. That the listing said wasn't included, so it probably doesn't work, is my guess. But none of that really is anything any special. No, this thing is harboring a little bit of a secret that those of you who know what this actually is are screaming at your monitors about, no doubt already. Let me get this out of the way. See if maybe I can fix this, which popped off. Turn on the light here, and yeah, that's broken. You can see the little clip is missing. There should be a clip on it, just like that one. So that's why it keeps popping off. But why is this thing special? Let's take a little bit closer of a look at the main board here. You can see the SIMS sockets. Those are 72-pin SIMS. I believe this is a Pentium class machine. I'm not 100% sure. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a 486, because of one simple fact. Take a look at this. You know, there's more dirt. But, see that? See those brown slots in there? That's right. This is an EISA system. And those are EISA slots. But what's very interesting about this one, there's a SCSI controller. But what's interesting about this is that it's also got PCI slots. Now, what EISA is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the standard ISA, industry standard architecture, originally the AT bus that IBM introduced with the PC-AT. Well, actually, really it was introduced with the PC-XT, which was the 8-bit version of the bus, and then the PC-AT introduced a 16-bit extension on top of that. Well, the limitations were starting to get reached, and they needed a faster bus. So IBM introduced the microchannel architecture, MCA, which was fraught with card complexity issues and licensing costs and other things because IBM wanted to keep a tighter hold, or at least allegedly wanted to keep a tighter hold on the MCA bus than they did on ISA. So one of the competitors was EISA, Extended Industry Standard Architecture, introduced by the Group of Nine. You can go ahead and look that up if you really want to. All I know is, well, I can really remember off the top of my head is that Compaq had a big say in it at HP and Dell. And so EISA is basically microchannel, but without the burden of expensive card design. It is backwards compatible with ISA because EISA is a superset of ISA. It introduces plug-and-play compatibility, although rudimentary. And on top of that, it introduced faster speeds. It was a better bus. The issue is that EISA still really didn't catch on. Most people were content with using ISA, and then later the various local buses, followed by Visa Local Bus, followed by PCI, which again is why I say it's very strange to see PCI slots on an EISA system. So this is a very, very, very late EISA system, and like I said, I believe this is a socket 7 or a socket 5 Pentium-based machine. Again, quite the oddity. This is the hard drive LED, external hard drive LED. I'm not sure if the machine works. This is interesting in that it is a flip card. I'm not sure if it's EISA or just ISA, but it's also got the PCI slot on the other side. Which, like I said, is certainly kind of interesting. What you do is you'd flip this around, and you'd be able to get your PCI as well. Or maybe it came with a different bracket, I'm not sure. This is a SCSI. I don't know what SCSI card this actually is. I know it's a Adaptec, but let me see. What does the BIOS on it say? Well, it doesn't really reveal much. Normally these say on it somewhere what the card actually is, but I don't know. I'm not seeing it. So, I don't know what that is. But I gotta fire up the air compressor, and I'm going to have to clean this out because this is extremely dirty. And, well, it doesn't need to be so extremely dirty. I wonder what that slot is down there, that brown slot. Some kind of cache? Perhaps cache on a stick? Well, it doesn't look like a cache on a stick. It looks almost like a PCI or even a microchannel expansion slot. So I don't know. This is a very weird, interesting mix of technologies. Alright, before I continue with this video, the sticker on the front says Dell OmniPlex 590. This is not a Dell OmniPlex 590. This is a Dell OmniPlex 466. As you might have noticed, this is a 486, not a Pentium. And I might have even mentioned it in the video. The reason why I know is because the socket has an extra row of pins around it. that is an indication that it can take a Pentium overdrive, which means it's a 486. Some of my commentary is a little bit different about this machine. I kind of wish that it was a Pentium. It would have been a 90 megahertz Pentium if that's what it were. I would kind of like that because I don't really have a whole lot of experience with the slower clocked Pentiums, particularly things like the 60, the 75, and the 90. Maybe to a lesser extent the 90. I think I've had a few Pentium 90s in my day. So I don't know what happened in the case of this, if someone replaced the cover with one that was handy, or if someone replaced the board at some point because maybe the original board failed. I don't know. So much crack, it's got street value. Yeah, probably a small wonder this shell actually survived. The interesting thing here is it says model number AM466. So I wonder if this is a 486 and not actually a Pentium. 486 would definitely be era appropriate for EISA, but I don't know. This almost looks like it'd be totally useless. Like, what would this even be used for? I don't know. Anyway, I gotta blow the dirt out of this. Okay. How much do you want to bet this is gonna go poorly? Be interesting to see just how much dust is in this thing. Here it is after its blowout. Is it perfect? No. But it's never going to be, and it's certainly a darn sight better than it was. But the question of the day, of course, does it run? Yeah, hard drive LED is connected to the SCSI. There's your Visa feature connector, which was a way to add things like a TV, or not a TV, sorry, an MPEG decoder card, encoder card, probably both, really, at a time when the CPU really just was not powerful enough to do that. And yeah, that's a 486. You know how I know is there's an extra row of pins on that, and the reason why there's that extra row of pins is because that would have been used for a Pentium overdrive chip, which was a 486 that had some clock multipliers on it that also carried instructions and allowed your system to run Pentium level CPU instructions. It's a 3-COM Etherlink 3E ISA. It's a nice little card. Good thing it's got 10 base T. The 10 base 5 would be useful. You can get adapters for that to work with 10 base T, but ain't nobody got ThickNet anymore. AIC 6251AL. That would be your model number on the SCSI controller. And this, well, I don't know what that is. I can't really tell because all of the bits are on the other side of it. It's plugged in. Hasn't gone up in smoke yet. So I'm going to stop the camera, turn the light off because I can't do that while it's recording. And then we'll hit the big switch on the front. This is not really a big switch, is it? It's a little tiny. tiny switch. Yep, that's dead. Yeah, it sounds like it's stuck. So it's probably got a rubber problem. ATI video, 486 ROM BIOS, yep. OmniPlex 466. I wonder if that's not original to this machine. Because it's supposed to be an OmniPlex 590. The bearings on that are terrible. And yeah, I think it gave up. I think it completely gave up. Wonder if it's going to go any further. Or if I have to unplug that in order for it to actually do anything else. Yeah. It's in the wrong place. It's actually an AHA 1740, but it's actually in the wrong... It's thinking about it in the wrong place. Hard disk controller, yeah, it's the actual drive itself that's bad. So, the nice thing about this, a lot of the EISA systems require the use of a floppy with a configuration utility. I know the HP that I have is like that. This actually has a built-in ROM BIOS. That's your standard ROM BIOS here. 66 megahertz CPU speed. This thing is almost completely silent. There's no fan other than the one in the power supply. Is it actually working? Oh, that might not be. Oh, no, it is. It's barely moving any air, though. Of course, it probably doesn't have to. Obviously, the settings are completely wrong. It has 2 pages. So, that 486 DX2 66 with 16 megs of RAM and 1 megabyte of video memory. Yeah, that's not bad. I wonder what kind of parallel port modes we actually get. So that's unidirectional is what it defaults to. That's kind of interesting. How the built-in IDE controller operates. No PCI bus SCSI. There is an EISA SCSI card, as you saw there. Yeah, it's not really going to do anything else. I don't really have any boot disk available at my disposal right now to actually really do anything, so looks like a new hard drive is in this thing's future. Okay, well I take back what I said about the power supply fan. It must not have actually been running because now it's definitely running. Not very well. I'm going to have to take that apart and oil it because, like I said, I'm pretty sure that that's a proprietary power supply. And even if it wasn't, I don't want to have to deal with replacing this front panel switch. That just seems like a necessary pain to me. But yeah, kind of interesting. I'm not sure this is actually an OmniPlex 590 as opposed to an OmniPlex 466, but well, doesn't really matter. I'd rather have this one anyway, because the Pentium would probably be arguably less interesting out of the two. But without much more to go on, there really isn't anything I can do. So at some point, this will have to get a new hard drive. It'll have to get a power supply fan oiling or a replacement fan entirely. I don't know yet. I'll have to figure that out. And an operating system and some other stuff. Don't know that I'm going to keep the SCSI card in here. I think I'll probably pull that. Okay, I pulled it out, and this is kind of neat. This is actually a DCA. From what I can tell, from what I was able to look up on the internet and the retro web, this is an IRMA 3 flip card ISA PCI 16.4 token ring adapter. They say that's RJ45, but I don't know. I thought RJ45 was a little bit bigger than that, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just nuts. Oh, who am I kidding? Of course I'm nuts. I mean, look at my videos. But yeah, I kind of wonder if this is an EISA SCSI card. Not 100% sure on that one. So, I would pull that out, but I don't care enough. So, of course, aforementioned 3-com Etherlink 3 EISA. So, either way, I think that's pretty much it for that. I'll have to do some fan oiling and hard disk replacing, and I'm not really sure when I'm going to get to that at this particular point. I've obviously got a laundry list of things I need to do, not the least of which is the IBM 5162 and the the PS2 Model 70 from some of my previous stupid packaging videos, bad packaging job videos, whatever you want to call them. But I know that at the very least the PS2 is going to need some work before I can do anything with it, and so too does the 5162. But add to the pile, yet another computer. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, feel free to leave them below.